is importing the data and then updates it. So in most cases, we need to populate data, and we saw user data being one of the foundation data that needs to be populated. And again, if there are 1 or 2 records, I can go ahead and manually do them. But if there are, let's say, hundreds of records, how are we going to populate them? And what is the simplest way? What are different options and features available in ServiceNow? First and foremost is data source and transform map, and then integrations. There are a lot more to these two things, just with what the name says. So going back to our instance, let us now take this data about our service provisioning. Let me refresh. We have our instance here, and we have this service provisioning request. So right now we have only one record here. What I can do is to take the sample, I can click on the column options, click on export, and go for an Excel format. It takes some time, allow the time, and go ahead and download this, save it somewhere. And then now we need to edit this. So I'll load this somewhere again, and we need Excel to actually edit these columns. Again, what we are going to do, we are going to write some data into this Excel sheet and then upload them back into the instance, and we'll see how this can be uploaded. So as and when you have any data that you want to populate, the first thing you need to do is go ahead and export that data so that you can see. So right now, this is the one that we have exported. So exported data looks something like this. Then we have the service numbers. These are automated. So I'm going to create some 10 records here, and we'll see how we can import these 10 records back into the ServiceNow system. So let's go for 10 entries and update the numbers. 3, this one is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, finally 10. So the first data is already available in the instance, so I can actually remove this. I no longer need it. So let's go ahead and delete this row. And the plan, I'm gonna randomly type some data. Gold, silver, bronze, platinum, gold, silver, platinum. Silver. Total price, let's again, I'm gonna write some random values. Once we have this, we can go ahead and save this again as an Excel. So I'm going to download this. I'm going to keep it somewhere. This is the one that we recently downloaded. So we have our data now. How do we go ahead and import them into the instance? So I'll refresh this to show you how many data we have. We have only one. So in order to import, the first thing we need to do is define a data source in the platform. So navigate to system import set, data source. Same, just like how we create a table, go ahead and Click on new, give a name, say that you're going to import service provision data. Let's give a name, service provision import. The label automatically comes up. We are going to do file type, and these are the other formats that data source allows. To keep it simple, the one we are going to do is Excel. We are having only one sheet, and the header row is one because that's where the column entries are available. And we are going to use the file retrieval method as attachment. So go ahead and save this record first, and then we'll attach a new data sheet into this particular record that we just created. So the one we created is this one. Selected, close this. And the next thing we need to do is define where this data is going to reside. So this is our import set table. This is a temporary table. You can call it as a staging area where all the data from the Excel sheet gets stored here. And this is where we process the data. After processing, we move to the target table. Our target table here is nothing but a service provision table. And I'll reload to you again. No data here. Still, this is like this. And we can go ahead and perform transform. So transform maps are the one that are going to help us in transforming the data from our Excel sheet, from our import set table into a target table. So I can say provision data map. The target table here is a provisioning table. So you can say search for a table name, leave everything default. Let's go on, save this now. So just duplicate this. We need to go back to our data source now. Load the data. So to load the data from the Excel sheet into a temporary table, we have an option for load all records. So first load all records. This will load all the record from our Excel sheet into our staging table. Once this is completed, we have an option here to do field mappings. So let us go ahead and refresh this. Reload the form. Yeah, we have an option again here to reload. We have an option to do field mappings. Now we need to perform field mapping. So we have 3 different fields available. So we'll go ahead and map all those from the parent table to the target table. So the source field for us is plan. So the first thing is plan to plan. So we'll do this and submit. Go back to our transform map and then add the additional 2 more field mappings that are available for us. And then now observe that you get an option to automatically map the fields. So this works only if the source and the target are having common field names. And you can see that it mapped the number and plan by itself. So next thing I need to do now is we have the data source available, transform map created, field mapping is also done. So I can finally go ahead and transform this. It'll ask us which import set table and which transform map to work. In our scenario, everything is just one. We imported only one data. We are having only one transform map, so it automatically selected both of them. And then it is asking us for a confirmation. So data transform is completed. We are seeing completed message. Fingers crossed. Let's refresh before we see the data coming up here. So that is pretty much it. Data source and transform map are very much straightforward. And the one that we did is we exported the data to see how it may look like. So you can use it as a template, add additional data, attach that by creating a new data source, load all that data from the data source into the import set table. Upon loading, create a transform map. And on the transform map, define the relationship between your import set table to your target table. After defining, go ahead and do the transformation. And once transformation complete, all the data will be available here. There are multiple ways to do this. You can go ahead and do a file retrieval method. You can set up an integration. You can query a database, get the database value, and then populate. So and so happens. And this is how the AD integration also happens when the user data needs to be populated. Either I can do it with the help of Excel sheet, or I can perform integrations. So this is on populating the data with the help of transform maps. So I'm going to close this and all this. In the backend, what might have happened? So I earlier during our session, probably you would have not seen this, but I have went ahead and created an update set. So what is an update set? We saw that this is the one that is going to capture all our changes. So I have already created one, but I'll show you how we can create new. Similar to how we did table creation, data source creation. Navigate to local update sets, click on new, and give a name that is user understandable. So in most cases, when you're working on the configuration, you can give the application name something like, you can see service provisioning configurations. So I can give any such name. I can click on submit and make it. So what happens now is it would have created an update set, and it will make that update set as a current update set. So that whatever configurations that we do, everything gets stored in the update set, and I can later move that update set. But I have already created one earlier, and observe that this has captured all the changes that I've been performing from the beginning of a session. So what I did, again, in the customer updates, you can right click the filter, open in the new tab, and if we sort it by created, we'll see that we created a new table earlier today. We created some data source, transform map, all those we created today. This is our transform map. This is the transform map name. This is our import set table name. And this is the table that we created, service provisioning request. All this gets tracked in the update set. So what good does it do? So you can simply complete this, save this, and then export this as an XML. So what happens when I export? Let's say I have went ahead and accidentally deleted some of my transform maps. So let's say this transform map, whichever that we created recently, I've deleted this by mistake. So assuming that this is deleted by mistake, there are ways that we can retrieve this. One, I exported my update set, correct? This update set holds my transform map and field mapping. So I can go ahead and import that. And this is the same way, let's say, if my development is complete, if I want to import my changes from one instance to another instance. So I export this from my development instance, I move to a test instance, and I search for retrieve update sets. And in retrieve update sets, you have an option to import. So we can import whichever one that we just downloaded. So as you import, it'll ask to preview this one. This is the one that we just loaded. The state is loaded. You can preview this update set. It will try to compare with all the data that is available in the instance, and it will show if there are any errors. And it says there are 4 collisions, 44 updates, and 2 inserts. So what I can do is, it says these transform map and entry are not available. So I'll go ahead and select all of them and I'll say accept the remote updates. So when I do that, it has fixed all the issue, and now I can commit this update set. So whatever that I have taken as a backup, everything will be available for me here. And in case of moving this to a new instance, everything will again be available for me in my test instance about whatever that I have developed. So the update set works both way. Either you take a backup or you want to take and move it to a different instance. Either way this works. And just to show you, we should be having back our update sets if I go back to our data source. So we have this data source. I have deleted this transform map just before some time. But if you look into our data source, we should be seeing our transform maps showing up because we have retrieved them with the import update set option. And here we go. Here's a transform map. We deleted this along with the field map, but this has come up again because we have retrieved this data. So this is around playing with the data source, import set, and update set information about how we can utilize for loading the temporary data, taking a backup, and then